नमस्कार, फिर पैसा बोलता है में आपका स्वागत है। मैं आनंद श्रीनिवासन। आज मेरे साथ मेरे भाई हैं। मैं आज हॉट टेक्स करूंगा। हॉट टेक्स में क्या करेंगे कि 2 दिन के न्यूज़पेपर्स हैं, मिंट और बिजनेस लाइन। इससे जो इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चंस उनको मिलेंगे, जिसमें उनको मेरा ओपिनियन चाहिए, वो पूछेंगे, इसमें मैं अपना जवाब दूंगा। ये प्रोग्राम तो प्राइमरली इंग्लिश में होगा, लेकिन अगर कोई इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक है जो मुझे हिंदी में भी विश्लेषण करना है तो मैं करूंगा जरूर। तो हम हॉट टेक्स पे जाएंगे। विनोद, your first question.
Many observers of Indian economy have been concerned about the inequality could slow down if if a large proportion of the population are left behind. The K-shaped recovery again, Anand. So what can we do? What is this K-shaped recovery and what can we do?
First of all, I'm very happy that a newspaper which is normally pro-government, the Mint, is willing to write a quick editorial saying that there is a K-shaped recovery. K-shaped recovery basically indicates that goods consumed by the rich and the upper middle class is going up, and those consumed by the poor, the lower middle class and the middle class is declining. And we have been pointing out in this channel and in our sister channel and in my writings in newspapers that this has been on ever since the pandemic is over, and this has created a situation in the economy where there is a definite case where the rich are definitely getting richer, the poor and the middle class are getting poorer. Just let me give you an example. The price of gold 2 months back was about 5,500. It is now, after GST, it has reached 6,200 in some places. If you add making charges, it's much more. So now that means somebody who has already got hard assets and has kept it in the bank has gained 700 rupees. I have been advocating that people buy 400 grams of gold. Somebody who has bought that 400 grams of gold has made 2.8 lakhs in the last 1.5 months doing nothing, basically just sitting on it. If you have been investing in stock markets and you have got a balanced portfolio, which you had correctly bought undervalued stocks at the right time, your portfolio in the last 1 year would have gone up at least 50%. So whether you bought gold or whether you bought stocks, or even if you're just holding on to US dollars, you would have made 12 to 15% returns. These kind of assets are available only beyond the upper middle class. They are the people who are benefiting out of this. If it is most of these goods are out of the reach of the common man, and therefore the median income in India is 15,000 rupees. So somebody earning 15,000 rupees for a family cannot even dream of gold, cannot dream of even putting in financial assets. And therefore you will see that you have high-end bikes selling and you don't have low-end bikes or low-end cars selling. In fact, Maruti, which built its name and prestige on small cars, is now pivoting and saying we will become an SUV manufacturer. That itself is a clear indication of where the progress is going. And the other problem is the large companies and the large economy did not get affected by the pandemic. Who was affected by the pandemic, GST and demonetization was the SME, MSME and the small guy, which were creating most of the jobs. These sectors have been ravaged, are in serious trouble, and they have never recovered. And the sectors which have recovered and bounced back are the large corporates, because you have done all favors for them by reducing their taxes. You have allowed the rupee to fall. All this has made sure that exporters and large companies have prospered and the small guy has suffered. Now the chickens will come home to roost in the next 1 year, because where most of middle class India is working today is basically in IT sector. Now last 1 year there is no recruitment in IT sector, and if you want to give up your job, you will immediately, no replacement will be taken. And even for a change, even in IITs, which is also there in the front page, there are no takers for except the first 4 IITs. There are a lot of IIT graduates who are not being employed. If IIT guys are not getting jobs, what is going to happen to the rest of India? So this is the problem.
Okay, then what about this? The G7 to punish Russia further have said ban imports from polished diamonds made from Russian rough stones. So what does this mean for our Indian brothers?
But what I'm trying to tell you, all this is symbolic. Russia is making more money of crude oil, right? Than today, than what it was making before the invasion of Ukraine. So all these sanctions by G7 is not going to change anything.
Correct. Even the US politicians don't have any more appetite for funding the war.
Yeah. So basically what you are trying to do is, what is the official market? You are trying to push it through to the grey channel.
So has Putin's gambit paid off?
I wouldn't say, because Putin has another problem. What is going to fell Putin is inflation in Russia itself, shortages of goods.
Because he's got the so-called election coming up.
No, it's not election. His elections are managed elections.
Yes.
But there is inflation. And people who are conscription, people who have to go and fight, have run away from Russia.
Correct.
So he is now relying on criminals who are supposed to be in jail, have been asked to fight. So he is also down to the final reserves. This is a war. This has become a war of attrition. And who gives up finally? However it takes to, you cannot push the Ukrainians down, because Ukrainians are fighting for a cause. They are fighting for their motherland. The Russians are not fighting for their fatherland.
Correct.
So the war will finally end in Ukraine's favor, but may take a decade before it comes there.
So what about this big fat Indian weddings getting bigger? They're saying
This is again this K-shaped recovery. The wealthy Indians have had huge tax cuts.
correct.
They
And
have
like you say,
loads of-
surge in gold pricing and everything. Investments, the investment classes all have been surging.
Yeah, so and they are having lesser taxes. They have more money to spend. The idea of government was that these people would set up more factories and do a better job of building capacities. But when there is no demand, where will they build capacities? Like 2 days back, there was a news that what was the news? That sales of innerwears are down. Innerwears are down means people are really struggling,
Correct.
because nobody is going to see them. You can drag it on for some more time.
Correct.
So people are cutting back on essential goods. If people are buying less underwears, why will the underwear manufacturer
Set up more plants.
set up more plants? So that's where it goes.
But there's a huge expansion in loan, on GDP loan ratio. If you see, there's a sudden explosion, especially on non-banking
Yeah,
sector.
but what has happened is you had small companies and fintech companies which were giving loans to these small guys below 50,000 rupees, which the banks were not willing to do. And they are tied up with banks and doing co-lending and all that. Now there has been a crackdown from Reserve Bank and other things, which clearly people have tweaked. RBI has increased the risk weights on these small loans. So banks have told the fintech partners they cannot support small loans. Yesterday, Paytm was told that you cannot give loans below 50,000 rupees. You cannot give buy now, pay later loans. So yesterday on a single day, Paytm cracked by 20%.
Correct.
See, the point is in Paytm, they started as a digital wallet. UPI came and destroyed the digital wallet.
Yes.
Right? UPI made sure there is no digital wallet.
There's no requirement.
Now, after the digital wallet is dead, they had to pivot. Then they said, we are giving loans. They are originating loans. And people who are originating loans were more profitable than the guys who are actually giving loans and making money. Now, RBI is saying they cannot even originate loans. So, basically, you have taken the free money in the rest of the world and created a business which has no business model.
Correct.
And then you put an IPO, dumped it on the retail investor and mutual funds.
Yes.
All your big investors who invested very cheaply have got out profitably.
Very true.
Now you are looking for a model of business.
True.
And this is what I said, a rising tide. The rich won't get into these kind of messes. It is a retail investor
Who's getting jammed up?
who will get jammed up in all this.
Okay. So what about our aviation sector, Anand? You heard about the SpiceJet. One of their planes.
नमस्कार, फिर पैसा बोलता है में आपका स्वागत है। जनवरी के महीने में मैं त्रिवेंद्रम आ रहा हूँ। त्रिवेंद्रम में आपसे मिलूंगा। जो भी मुझे त्रिवेंद्रम में मिलना चाहता है, नीचे दिए हुए जीमेल में trivandrummp@gmail.com में मेल भेजें और या नीचे दिए गए व्हाट्सएप नंबर में हमें संपर्क करें। धन्यवाद।